clients.
This is going to happen. The heavy hand of the regulator is going to be coming down to squeeze heads starting very soon. And you won't find any sympathy here on the Hill anymore.
Which happened.
It happened faster than I thought. They're looking at that BNB token. That's the next thing to blow up. And so,
oh, really? You think that'll blow up?
I can't see how that survives. Why in the world would a block trade like the one owned by CZ and or Binance be tweeted out saying, I have $550 million with the FTT tokens I'm going to put to the market? You don't trade like that. You arrange a cross. You go and find buyers, you form a syndicate, and you clear market with a trade.
Well, that's in traditional finance, Kevin. This is decentralized, Wild West finance. So he didn't do that.
Well, Melissa, that's the whole point. And let me tell you something. My read of the Senate today, they're tired of this. They don't want to keep holding hearings every 6 months when the next crypto crap blows up. The Senate, the Hill, the legislators, the regulators, they're done. I think we're going to get some action here. You can't keep taking these things down to zero, $1 billion at a time. Binance has two options. Sit down with the regulator, pay the penalty, disclose ownership, because in my opinion, you're asking me an opinion, I'm just an observer. They can remain in the shadows as a rogue entity, very profitable, and you have to commend 𝗧𝘄 for what he's built. But if he wants to play in the real world, and in the world's largest market, the US, he's going to have to disclose who owns them and who is backing that token.
The SEC.
So the heavy hand of the SEC has come down, or the heavy hand of the regulators has come down on Binance. And today what they're looking to do is they're actually looking to get an injunction to freeze Binance's US assets. So if you look at that's what's happening today. The SEC has actually seeks temporary restraining order to freeze Binance US assets. And that's just one day after the SEC went for Coinbase. You see the Coinbase price is starting to recover. And I'm going to talk about why the Coinbase price is starting to recover, and also why the Bitcoin price is pretty much at the same level now that it was before this whole FUD actually even started, before the Coinbase and the Binance attacks. Then we've got to look at anyone who's holding these altcoins. So if you're holding any of these altcoins, Atom, BNB, BUSD, Coty, Solana, ADA, Matic, Filecoin, Sandbox, Mana, Algorand, 𝗟𝗏𝗄, Chiliz, NEAR, Flow, ICP, VGX, Dash, Nexo. If you're holding any of these tokens, we got to talk, because these are now securities. Between the Binance case, the SEC versus Binance case, and the SEC versus Coinbase case, these tokens are now securities. And the question is, if you're holding them, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to sell them? Are they going to go to zero? Are they going to get delisted from your favorite exchanges? That is what we're going to be talking about today. Big show, guys. Let's go. Never a dull moment in this world of crypto. Yesterday we had the SEC come out against Coinbase. 24 hours later, here we are, and the Bitcoin price is pretty much exactly where it was before it all started. So I think we're going to look at this Bitcoin price, and we've got to tell the story of exactly what happened. I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to show you why the Bitcoin price responded like this, and I'm going to show you why the Coinbase price is responding like this, because I think Coinbase is very much at the center of what's going on. And then, I don't know about you, but if these are all securities, what does that mean for my favorite tokens? What does that mean if I'm holding Solana or Cardano and it is a security and the SEC actually does get its way? Does that mean that my investment is actually going to go to zero? Does it mean it's going to be listed from all these exchanges? We've got a big show here today. That's the bottom line. Got a big show here today. So listen, not sure how you guys are feeling after the last 24 hours. I broadcast yesterday for 11 hours straight. I was here. Then from here, I went to the Twitter Spaces. By the way, we in our Twitter Spaces yesterday, we got 1 million people tuning in. 1 million people tuned into our Twitter Spaces yesterday. So if you're not already planning on joining our Twitter Spaces after the show, join our Spaces after the show. It's myself, Mario, and Scott. And we are bringing you the biggest crypto town hall in the world. That's pretty much what we bring you. Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. If you're not already subscribed, what the hell are you waiting for? What else can I do to make you subscribe, to bring you this crypto love and crypto wisdom? And if you are a subscriber, well, smash the like button. I see only 336 people have actually done the deed of smashing the like button and giving us some gratitude for everything that we do here. All right, let's quickly look at the Bitcoin chart, and I want to talk about what happened yesterday, because I think a lot of things happened yesterday, and I think the chart, as usual, tells the story. So that is the Bitcoin chart yesterday. I'm going to zoom in on the daily candles. Before the SEC attacked Binance, we were at 27,108. The SEC then goes after Binance. The price of Bitcoin goes down to 25,300. That is because the impression that investors got was that the SEC is going after Binance to shut Binance down. Less than 20 hours later, the SEC go after Coinbase. And it's a different kind of fight. The Binance fight is 13 charges, some of them potentially criminal in nature: commingling of funds, running an unlicensed securities broker dealership, trying to evade the US law, trying to assist your customers in evading law. And the other one is a very vanilla fight. It's through running an unregistered securities offering, 4 counts of running an unregistered securities offering. When the Binance thing came down, when the Binance FUD came out, Bitcoin drops. 20 hours later, the Coinbase news come out, Bitcoin goes up, and actually Bitcoin goes up higher than the level that it was before the Binance FUD. Why? Answer is very simple. When the SEC went after Binance, it was a Binance fight. People thought that they were attacking the biggest crypto exchange in the world, and that was all it was about. But when they issued a summons, or not a summons, but an action against Coinbase less than 20 hours later, people realized that this was actually not a fight against the exchanges. This was a fight against the movement of crypto. This is the SEC going all out against crypto. And a few hours later, Gary Gensler appears on a Bloomberg show. And in that Bloomberg show, he reveals part of the agenda, part of the reason why he is doing this.
Look, we don't need more digital currency. We already have digital currency. It's called the US dollar. It's called the euro. It's called the yen. They're all digital right now. We already have digital investments, and you have digital.
So we already have enough digital currencies. We have the digital dollar. They are preparing for CBDC. There's no doubt in my mind now that the reason why they're clearing out, they're doing exactly what China did. China first banned crypto, then launched their very own CBDC. And I have no doubt that when you take a professor that studied and lectured blockchain at MIT, and he joins the SEC, and then he becomes exactly so anti-crypto, I have no doubt that he's working towards a much bigger agenda. And that's exactly what the market says. The market actually realized that he's working towards this agenda, and therefore they said, you know what, well, if he's going after the whole of crypto, we believe that it's time to stand up and actually fight back. And as soon as Coinbase started to say, we're going to fight back, that is when the prices started to rise. And we're going to look at what Coinbase said and why it got the whole market ready to fight back. When I look at the altcoins today, so that also tells a story. The one altcoin that moved up quite a bit was Stacks. And the reason why this moved up is because this is the only SEC regulated ICO that has ever been approved or launched. And it's going up in support of, you can say, the SEC. There is good news. So the good news is that the market bounced back pretty quickly. Okay, so the market bounced back pretty quickly. It's now back over the 200-week moving average. Remember, we only watch this 200-week moving average weekly. And as long as the weekly candle remains over this 200-week moving average, which if you zoom in close enough, you can now see that it is above the 200-week moving average. This trend is actually safe. And I think another very positive thing here is that Bitcoin bounced back to the price very quickly. And that's a sign of a bull market. In a bull market, you can have as much news as you want. Okay, so you can have as much news as you want in a bull market. In a bull market, when you have bad news, it doesn't move the price. And here we're getting bad news after bad news after bad news, and it's not really moving the price. In fact, if anything, every time we get this bad news, it actually marks another local bottom. So, when we had the KuCoin ETH FUD and we had the Binance BUSD FUD, those were actually bottoms, local bottoms, where the price actually started to turn. And so what I'm seeing here is I'm actually seeing a trend. I'm seeing a big trend here. I'm saying the market is bouncing back from bad news very, very, very quickly. It's brushing off bad news very, very quickly. That is a clear sign of a bull market. The other thing which I noticed is in the on-chain data. And if I look at the on-chain data, if you look at the realized losses, now the realized losses are how many people are willing to sell and take a loss, because you don't take a realized loss until you've actually exited your position. And what we realized is that yesterday, even with all these liquidations, there were no more realized losses. What does that mean? It means that anybody that wanted to sell and realize losses, all the weak hands that wanted to sell and realize losses, have already done that. They're out of the market. And so now when we get FUD, and this is not FUD, this is a massive event. This is the two biggest crypto exchanges in the world actually being attacked in a span of 20 hours. When that happens and people don't actually realize losses, what you realize is that the coins are now in the hands of the diamond hands, and that they're not actually going to be selling those tokens. And that's a very positive sign, because that's exactly what you need to get into a bull market. You need to get rid of all the weak hands, which is exactly what we've actually done here. We've got rid of the weak hands. There's no more realized loss. Look at this. Look at this. Yesterday, we had one of the biggest days in news, or the last 48 hours have been amongst the biggest in news that we've had in a long time. Look at this. No one sold. No one sold. This just shows you how strong the holders are right now of Bitcoin and of crypto. Anyway, let's go on to, let's look at the SEC case. By the way, I mean, this landed there coincidentally, but I did tell you guys to look at buying Flex at 75 cents. It's now $2.25 even in this market. I hope some of you actually bought some of it. I mean, I told you it's not the popular choice, but it is a good choice. Anyway, let's look at Coinbase. And one of the reasons why the market actually recovered, is because what we all knew that Coinbase was going to get sued by the SEC. And the reason why we knew that is because if you remember a while ago, there was a Wells notice issued by the SEC to Coinbase. And the Wells notice is like a warning to say, we are contemplating, or we recommend that we're going to do action against you. And there's a time limit for a Wells notice. And so it was almost logical. It would almost be absurd if they didn't issue some kind of action against against Coinbase. And so yesterday the action came. And one of the reasons why the market actually responded the way that it responded was because the action wasn't actually as bad as it could have been. The action against Binance was pretty bad. It's 13 allegations, it's 13 charges, commingling of funds, assisting customers in bypassing US regulations, etc., etc., etc. When you look at the action against Coinbase, it's pretty vanilla. It's pretty simple. It's a pretty straightforward fight that can be settled by the law, by the courts very, very quickly. If you were to break it down, all they're saying is that Coinbase operated an unregistered broker since at least 2019, evading the disclosure terms for the securities market. Coinbase deprived investors of disclosures and protections that came from registration, exposing them to significant risks. That they were trading illegal securities, including Solana, ADA, Matic, and that their staking program is actually a securities program and therefore should have been registered. That is what the charges are against Coinbase. Against Binance, different story. But against Coinbase, it's a very clean fight. And it's almost like, you know what it is? It's like playing the man versus playing the bull. When you talk about the charges against Binance and CZ, they're playing the man and the bull. When you talk about the Coinbase thing, it's a fair game. There's no rules. We want to know what the rules are. These are the 4 charges. Now we know exactly what we're in for. So now Coinbase know what they need to fight. We know as investors in crypto, we know what the big fight is in the Western world. If we can get over these 4 hurdles or these 4 borders, then we can actually move forward in crypto without all these issues. But we first got to just get over those 4 things. And if we can get regulatory clarity against those 4 things, well, that is all we need to do. And so now what happens is Coinbase needs to roll up their sleeves, and I need to roll up my sleeves because James, it's very hot in here. Very hot in here, James. Very hot in here, James. So what do we need to do? I need to roll up my sleeves, and Brian Armstrong needs to roll up his sleeves and get ready for the fight of his life. Okay, so Brian Armstrong now really has to get ready for the absolute fight of his life, because the fight is against the SEC. The fight is a fight that, if he wins, is the hugest prize for all of us because if he can get us this regulatory clarity, then finally, as crypto holders, we can have regulatory clarity in the West and in the United States. It's the fight of his life, and it's not only against the SEC. Because as soon as the SEC issued this action against Brian Armstrong, 10 states took legal action against Coinbase for violating securities laws. So now they've got to fight. They've got to fight against the SEC. Plus, they've got to go and fight against these 10 states. Now, I'm not going to comment around the color of these states, whether they're red or they're blue. I think you can kind of see whether the states are red or blue yourself. So where are we? There's a big fight. The market has told you that it believes that Coinbase has a reasonable chance in the fight. That's why you got the Coinbase price back at $52. But it's a big fight. And why is it such a big fight? Well, if you look at this article here, what it says is there is an analyst that's looked at this from Barclays. So it's not a small analyst. And he says, his name is Benjamin Buddish. And he says, the Coinbase suit is actually very much in line with his expectations. And he warns that in the suit, the SEC also orders Coinbase to disgorge all ill-gotten gains resulting from the alleged violations and pay it back with interest. In other words, the company would have to return all the profit that they made on the violations, which is trading, and pay interest on it, which is $6 billion. So it's a big fight. It's a massive, massive, massive fight. Now, do I believe that there's any merit in that? No. But as a lawyer, what you want to do is you want to go for the harshest penalty and the harshest ask and hope that the judge will then turn it down from there. It's a negotiation technique. It's called anchoring. When you anchor someone very, very high, they've got to always almost try and bring you down. As opposed to if you start very low, then you got to get people up. It's called anchoring. We do it all the time. And that is exactly what the judge is, what the lawyer is doing here. He's anchoring. Now, I don't know if I did a smart thing or not yesterday, but I went and I bought some Coinbase shares. I'll tell you why I bought some Coinbase shares. I've been waiting to buy Coinbase shares for a long time. And yesterday on our spaces, we had 𝗲𝗏, and I think I share the same sentiment as he does around buying Coinbase. I've been looking for an opportunity. Yesterday, the price went under $50. I took the opportunity and I bought some Coinbase. And I wasn't the only one who bought Coinbase. And my rationale was very simple. Yes, there is risk that they will lose to the SEC. But if anybody can beat the SEC, it's Coinbase, because they're the cleanest kids on the block. They always have been the cleanest kids on the block. They've always tried their best to operate under the rules of the SEC. And if anybody could win a fight, and it's a clean fight because it's only those 4 charges, Coinbase has a chance to do it. If they win it, what's the prize? Well, the prize is that they pretty much own crypto in North America. Because, I mean, I may see Binance surviving this, but I don't see Binance US surviving this. I definitely see Binance surviving this, but Binance US, not sure that that's ever going to be an entity, which means that the winner of this fight gets the whole North America market and gets the loyalty of everyone in crypto. Because no matter who you are now, you're rooting for Coinbase because Coinbase is going in and it's fighting the good fight for all of us. And so naturally, we're going to feel inclined to thank them and to be loyal to them going forward. And so this is a big fight. If Coinbase get it wrong, they'll probably have a small business and then my investment will go down. If they get it right though, then this could have been one of the better buying opportunities. And that's why yesterday I increased my position in Coinbase. And I put more money behind Brian Armstrong. And I think one of the reasons why I put more money behind Brian Armstrong is because of how he has responded to these charges by the SEC. The first thing is the guy seems prepared. It seems like he's almost been in a war room before this, strategizing in terms of what the SEC could go after them for, and almost preparing and saying, when this happens, we do this. When this happens, we do that. And you can see that in every single one of his actions. I mean, just get this for leadership, okay? So here we go. First of all, he publishes a tweet response, a very, very, very well-worded tweet response, which says, regarding the SEC complaint against us today, we're proud to represent the industry in court to finally get some regulatory clarity around crypto rules. Remember, the SEC reviewed our business and allowed us to become public in 2021. We'll talk about that. That's not actually true. There is no path to come in and register. We tried repeatedly, so we don't list securities. We reject the vast majority of the assets that we review. The SEC and the CFTC have made conflicting statements and don't even agree themselves as to what is a security and what is a commodity. This is why the US Congress is introducing new legislation to fix the situation. He said, instead of pursuing a clear rulebook, the SEC has taken regulation by enforcement approach that is harming America. So if we need to avail ourselves to the courts to get clarity, so be it. And then he says, by the way, in case it's not obvious, the Coinbase suit is very different from the others out there. The complaint filed against us is exclusively focused on what is and what is not a security. And we are confident that we are confident in our facts and the law. We'll get the job done. In the meantime, let's all keep moving forward and building as an industry right here in America. Then they came out with this video, which was absolutely brilliant. It talks about the logic and it talks about the numbers, and it does it in a way that we can actually understand it. Take a listen. That's $1 million. Zero. So you can see that, I mean, this wasn't made yesterday. This has been well prepared, and they've been waiting for a chance to drop this. Now, he also went on to Squawk Box today. This happened 1 minute before the show started, so let's quickly listen to what he said on Squawk Box.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were disappointed to see this complaint from the SEC because I feel like we've had a long history of being very transparent with them and really every regulator around the world that we've worked with. So even going back to 2021 when we became a public company, before becoming a public company, you have to disclose everything about your business in depth. There was many back and forth revisions of our S1. And frankly, they had all the knowledge then, and they allowed us to become a public company. And then we're going through time, and Chair Gensler has
by the way, that's not true, because when the SEC review it, they review your share and they don't actually review your company. They don't look at the actual company and say that. I mean, the logic that could then be used is that if a medicine company lists on the stock exchange and then they make a medicine that actually kills someone, then they could say, well, how did the SEC approve this? They should have known. So that's not exactly true, but I get the sentiment.
Statements to Congress saying that he doesn't feel he has the authority to regulate this industry, and we're seeing conflicting statements from the CFTC and the SEC chair, and we even filed a formal petition with the SEC asking them for clarity about a number of points in the law, which they never responded to, and then this Wells notice and a complaint arrives. And so this isn't good for America, it's not good for the industry, obviously, and we now need to go get clarity from the courts.
I want to show you, Chair Gensler was on CNBC yesterday. I want to show you a clip and get you to react, if I could. Take a look at this.
In the Coinbase complaint, we note that they have, through the Coinbase wallet, you can trade 16,000 different tokens. And there's a lot of debate as to the use cases and whether there's any there. Look, we don't need more digital currency. We already have digital.
We're going to talk about that. We don't need more digital currency. We talk about
digital currency.
The dollar.
It's called the US dollar. It's called the euro. It's called the yen. They're all digital right now. We already have digital investments, and you have entrepreneurs representing digital investments on this program all day long. And it's whether it's the big tech companies, the automobile companies, you name it. It's all digital right now, the investing world. So what is the real underlying value of these tokens? And that's why you need full, fair, and truthful disclosures.
Do you think this is about disclosures, or do you think this is about the underlying currencies that are on your exchange?
It's tough to know exactly what he means by that. I mean, our self-custodial wallet is not trading crypto, the ones that he mentioned some huge number. That's happening in DeFi. That's not something that we actually operate the trading of. Our centralized exchange is really trading a much smaller number of assets. We've reviewed over 1,000 assets in crypto. We rejected 90% of them because we felt they weren't appropriate for our exchange, and about 200 of them are listed on our centralized product. And I don't know, to his point about, what's the there. Right. People are using crypto for all kinds of things. They're not just trading, and they're doing payments with it. Ukraine raised $200 million, and presidential candidates are taking it. And it's a new technology that.
So I think we get the point of how Brian Armstrong responded. I do want you guys to hear this thing about that Gary Gensler said, specifically around the Coinbase case. I think it's...
Look, I'm not going to go into any one set of conversations between the agency and a company, but we've had discussions with literally dozens of crypto incumbents, including the ones that you just mentioned. And what we find is this is a field that's built, the whole business model is built on non-compliance with the U.S. securities laws. And we're asking them to come into compliance, and they're going a bit of catch us if you can. That's a sort of generalization. And they're commingling various functions that traditional finance we don't allow.
I mean, everybody knows that there's no way for them to come and register. Everyone knows that. I don't understand why Gary Gensler is still on this narrative. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's been a huge backlash here. By the public, by senators, by congressmen. There's now a Congress hearing around crypto. So, I mean, the good thing is that we're now bringing this fight to a head. And it's now we've got to have the fight. We've got to see who. We're going to take some casualties. We're going to get some regulation and some legislation that we don't want. But eventually, we're going to have regulatory clarity and we can move on. And that is what the market is actually going out and celebrating. I'm going to go through some of the responses out there. So Ryan Selka says, reminder, Gensler's SEC failed to catch FTX, failed to protect Grayscale investors to the tune of $8 billion, failed to protect Voyager, Genesis, BlockFi borrowers to $4 billion. It's not that he's mean, it's that he's incompetent and he's crooked. He's a crooked cop. Again, the SEC has only harmed customers. They blocked the Voyager sell to Binance, which harmed a lot of people. They blocked the BlockFi. They took $100 million from BlockFi. Ryan Selkis does say it correctly today. He says, Gensler only has 17 months left as the SEC chair. Crypto will be critical technology for generations. The Biden White House will not like the electoral consequences if they continue to outsource financial policy to President Warren and her puppets. I think he's right. I think we've got to look at the big picture here. And that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about later on is how to fix your portfolios here. There's also this from Senator Loomis, who says, I mean, this is a senator. She said, the SEC has failed to provide a path for digital asset exchanges to register, and even worse, has failed to provide adequate legal guidance on what differentiates a security from a commodity. The SEC's continued reliance on regulation by enforcement continues to harm consumers. Real consumer protection requires creating a robust legal framework that exchanges can comply with, not pushing the industry offshore into the shadows. This is why Congress needs to pass the Loomis-Gillibrand bill, a Responsible Financial Innovation Act. So, at least it's bringing it top of mind, and we're getting the stuff top of mind, and I think it's going to get us to the end of this era, so to speak. I mean, I must say, I love CZ, but looks like he's taking a little bit of strain, because you see how Brian Armstrong has come in as this like knight in shining armor, ready to defend the industry. And I saw the comments from CZ, but they were different in nature. You know, like he was more, I won't say bad mouthing, but he was going against the SEC. Trust is earned through a long history of decisions and actions taken to protect users. He says, if you have to pick a fight with everyone, maybe you're the one that's at fault. They didn't sue FTX. So he's really going to the public, who protects you more, SEC or Binance. So very different approaches from very different people. And to be honest, if I had one of them that I needed to go in and to defend the industry, not to defend the company, but to go out and to fight for the industry, I think right now our best bet is actually Brian Armstrong. We'll obviously keep you guys updated. We'll try to get him on the show. We're trying to get him onto our Twitter spaces after the show, but stay tuned. We're also trying to get CZ onto the show as well, and onto Twitter spaces. All right, let's see what else is there. So right now, as we are here today, the SEC is going to court, and in court, what they're trying to do is they are trying to get a restraining order on the assets of Binance. So that's what they're doing now, and specifically Binance USA. So that's what it is. Here is the order. I've read the order. You don't have to read the order. It's 14 pages. It's not a lot of reading, but you don't have to read it. What they are basically saying is that they need to freeze the assets of Binance US. And I also heard this from Gary Gensler, also worth listening to in his interview yesterday.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I need to know this. The SEC's Binance complaint also seeks emergency relief, like an asset freeze, expedited discovery, and even the appointment of a receiver. Are there more pleadings coming? Because if you do this, That's the end of Binance.
Look, we have concerns, and I think the investing public should be aware of putting their hard-earned assets onto these platforms. But we have concerns when a platform like this puts themselves out to the public, is consciously trying to evade U.S. law and customer funds. You didn't even know who was custodying them. Was it custodied here in the U.S. on the U.S. platform? Was it custodied overseas? Or were some of your funds in crypto possibly moved to affiliates? There are a number of affiliates named in this called
So that is how they are justifying the fact that they want to get a restraining order or an injunction to actually get the assets off Binance.us and put those assets into the hands of the US regulator, which would be the worst case scenario. So how's the market responding to this? Well, first of all, important to note that when it comes to Binance, they've still got $50 billion, and in the last month, only $2.21 billion have left Binance. But the Binance US, which is the entity that's being spoken about here, only has $321 million. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. Now, truth is, if I had money on Binance US, I'd probably take it out. Why? Because there's a 1% chance that they are right about this and that they actually get this. But hold on, someone says this is bad. I just want to quickly follow the... okay. There's a 1% chance that happens. And if the 1% chance doesn't materialize, do you want to be that guy that still had money on Binance.us? I wouldn't want to be that guy. And I don't want you guys to be that guy. So I think get your money out of Binance.us. I love Binance, but you shouldn't have money on an exchange anyway. And if you're going to have money on an exchange and you know that the SEC is requesting this, there's less than a 1% chance that it's going to happen. But if it does happen, don't be that guy or don't be that girl, because I know a lot of you are girls, so don't be that girl. All right, let's talk about... by the way, this is fake news. I saw this. If you do see it, ignore it. I did tweet it. US grants a request to freeze the assets of Binance subsidiaries in the country. That's garbage, by the way. It's garbage. And the reason why I know it was garbage is because it came out at my 11:25 a.m. And when something comes out at my 11:25 a.m., that is when the courts are asleep. The judges don't work at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this kind of matter. So if this is happening, then we need to, it's garbage. Anyway, that's garbage. All right, let's go to the main section, the section that we spoke about over there, which is these tokens. Because I know a lot of us are actually holding a whole lot of these tokens. And the question is, what do you do now? Because according to the SEC, if you hold any of these tokens, Atom, BNB, BUSD, Coty, Solana, ADA, Matic, Filecoin, Sandbox, Mana, Algorand, Axie Infinity, Chiliz, Near, Flow, ICP, VGX, Dash, Nexo, you're holding unregistered securities. Now, what does that mean? It means that you can hold them, no problem. But the problem is that probably US exchanges can't list them. And I think one of the big tests will be to see what does Coinbase do while they're going for the SEC. Are they going to try and get rid of these tokens on their platform? I don't know if they're going to do that. So we need to see. We also know that Robinhood is also doing the same thing. They are also looking to see whether or not they should take these tokens off their platform. So we now look at that. I also got you this list over here. So if we look at all the tokens, at all the actions that the SEC has bought on anyone, all these would be securities. So just have a look at this list. I'm not going to read the whole list because that's not what I do. But if you're holding any of these tokens, you are potentially holding a security, which is great because you're allowed to hold a security. It's fully legal to hold a security. You just can't trade securities. And so now you've got to ask yourself a question. Should you be scared? Should you sell your tokens? And you got to answer that yourselves. I'm telling you that I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm using this as an opportunity to buy more of the tokens that I want in my portfolio, right? So things like Solana, I'm buying more. In fact, let's look at this list and I'll tell you on this list specifically which ones I bought. And to be honest, I think this list is actually a load of garbage. And the reason why it's a load of garbage is because they're saying that everything is a security. Okay, so there we go. So BNB, I'm not buying. BUSD, obviously, I'm not buying. Coty, I have enough. Solana, I'm buying more. Cardano, I'm not buying. Matic, I'm not buying. The reason why I'm not buying Matic, I think Matic's had its day in the sun. I have got some Filecoin. I may add a little bit, not a lot, primarily because Filecoin is mainly used in the East. Decentraland, not touching it. Why? Because it's a bad user experience. Algorand, not touching it. Why? Because they've been going for so long and they haven't built anything. Axie Infinity, I don't want to be buying games. I want to be buying studios, not touching it. Chili's, not touching it. Near, holding my position, not touching it. Flow, not touching Flow. Why? Don't think we need a separate NFT chain. ICP, most ambitious project in the world that pretty much does nothing. Not touching it. VGX, obviously not. Dash and Nexo, obviously not. So not touching any of these tokens. I don't think you should touch any of those tokens too. Maybe just load up on some Solana. You decide. Let's see how these tokens are performing on the Banter bubbles. And if you haven't been on the Banter bubbles, you should, because all the alpha is here in the Banter bubbles. Like, you just go into Banter bubbles. It's all here. Everyone's talking about. 25 minutes ago, people were posting articles about why Stacks is running. So you could have been the first to know why Stacks is running. That's how this concept works. You see a bubble that goes up, you then click on it and you find out why it's going up or why it's going down. So why is XRP going up? Well, there's no real reason. That's why no one's commenting. What else is it? There's quite a bit. So I want to show you something else. So what we're seeing now is that the centralized exchanges aren't exactly the best place in the world to be right now, right? So we're going to need to go into decentralized exchanges. And I think that that's going to cause decentralized exchanges to really, really, really grow. Because Gary Gensler and all of these guys can go for the centralized exchanges. And eventually they will. You've seen it. And they're going to try and freeze their assets. But what they can't do is they can't go for the decentralized exchanges. And specifically, not the really decentralized exchanges. So I think it's time that we do a deep dive into the decentralized exchanges and start placing some bets on the decentralized exchanges, right? So we've got one of our analysts here, put together a few lists, but there's a whole lot of other lists. And you need to make your own lists, so to speak. So let's have a look here at, hold on a second. Let's find all the decentralized exchanges. I had a whole list of decentralized exchanges for you. Here we go. So the first thing you need to look at is the growth of decentralized exchanges. 20% of the centralized exchange. Now, it's obviously dropped in June because we're halfway through the month, but it will go up. Then we took a list of all the decentralized exchanges and we looked at them on all the different metrics. And we looked at things like 30-day user growth, this is great. You can see that on this metric, Trader Joe is actually looking very, very, very good. It's actually growing really fast. But that's not all we looked at. Anyway, after having done all of this work and looked at the growth of decentralized exchanges, we actually realized that there was one decentralized exchange that was actually much better than all the rest. And I think if you want to know what that decentralized exchange is, you're going to need to come back tomorrow, because I'm not going to tell you today. I'm going to reveal it to you tomorrow. It's a good one. It's a good one. So be back here tomorrow. Try that. Let's see if people come back tomorrow to listen to it. Okay, also, anything else that's happening? I was on David Lynn show last night. If you haven't gone and checked it out, go and check out David Lynn show. Go and give it some likes on his channel. That's his channel,
the world's
David
largest
Lynn.
exchange.
He
Allegations was that
he used to be on Kitco. He's now started his new channel called the David Lynn Report or David Lynn Show or David Lynn. Go and check it out. Go and watch the video. Go subscribe to his channel. Give the man some love. The guy's good. He's really, really, really good. Also, other news, Tucker Carlson did his first episode on Twitter yesterday. I think he got more views than he ever got on cable TV. We also did our Spaces show yesterday with on Mario. We do it again. We're gonna be on live in 10 minutes with Scott and Mario. And we got over 1 million people viewed that. Over 1 million people actually did that. So that was huge. What else? Is there anything in the show group? Let's quickly look at the show group. Anything in the breaking news group? I do see something from the sponsorship team. They're saying, Gains, our partner, G-Trade King of the Hill trading contest begins 12th of June. So go to G-Trade and trade in the King of the Hill trading contest. You can win up to $100,000 in Arbitrum or Die. It's called the Race to the Top. The King of the Hill contest rewards ongoing performance better than end score only. That's actually quite smart. So that is on G-Trade. There's a link below if you want to do that. Let me just have a look at the newsroom and see if there's anything going on in our newsroom. Anything new going on in the newsroom? Very boring. Not much going on. Which means that I'll see you guys on the Spaces. In fact, hold on. Now Ferdy, who's been sitting quietly in the corner, has sent me something. Aha. Yeah, a lot of people haven't been actually looking at my I told you guys to look at Flex, and I told you guys I thought Flex would fly. And even in this market, you've got Flex up 52% today. So I think that's very, very good. He says, Ferdy says there's an OKX competition or an OKX promotion. Yes, we know that. You can get up to $30,000 if you sign up to OKX. So just go and sign up to OKX below. All right, that's it for today. I shall see you guys again tomorrow. Or if you want to join the spaces, come and join the spaces. I'm going to be there now for the next couple of hours with Scott and Mario. Until then, my friends, let's hope the SEC doesn't issue any more. Well, there's no one left to actually issue any warnings against, right? I mean, there's no one. There's actually, who are they going to issue against? 𝗏𝗏𝗏, they've already done that. Kraken, they've done that. Coinbase, they've done that. I mean, who are they going to go for? See you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.